Welcome back to 1 Hour with Ali Bashir Surya. We have Mr. Howard and Sally Stephen. We are continuing now on our last segment of tonight's show. And we discussed about the audit, the talent audit, we call it. How does it work? Perhaps
why don't you start?
Well,
Sally
basically, since we can measure people's skills on a variety of different jobs, we provide a spreadsheet that gives each individual a score on the various jobs that are important in
Maybe
the
I can
organization.
show the audience. Yes.
Yeah, and this way we can see that some individuals may have may struggle in one role, but be very successful in another.
Right.
It allows our clients to be able to focus people into jobs where they are more likely to be effective. You can't do this unless you can measure people effectively enough so that you know what skills are important and then who has those skills. When you have an audit like this, you can use it just like you would use your preventive maintenance or anything else that you can measure. So we bring measurement to people that allows a company to take more control of their human assets and talent.
And as you mentioned during the break, obviously companies are very precise on their inventories if you're talking about raw materials or manufactured goods or services offered, or even how much people owe us money and whether they're likely to pay. We track very well, but the people issue is very, very soft. The benefit of this is it's not perfect.
It's not perfect.
But it is accurate plus or minus 15%. So from a business person's point of view, the ROI is very clear. If we assign people to jobs who are at least a 65 in that job, the odds are 99% they're going to be above average. And that's good enough to succeed. Likewise, if we never assign someone who's below a 35 to a job, and that means no matter how much you train them or anything else, they're never going to be above average, and you look for what other jobs they would be above average in, then your accuracy rate improves very much. And when you make a mistake, the difference between somebody 55 and 45, not much of a penalty. But if you have these two standards, you're never going to turn down or not assign someone who would be very good in a job, nor are you going to put someone in a job where there's no possibility they can see. As I said before, in both leadership and management, 65% of the reasons people fail are being in the wrong job. Now you can identify with a systematic process that's pretty accurate whether they would succeed in this job or this job or this job. And the good news for individuals, because many individuals coming out of university or something do this for themselves, so that they know what direction they want to begin to look. And again, you've been in the education world. I'm sure you know that of people who graduate college, less than 1% will be in a job 10 years later that's what they studied in college. College is a general preparation. It doesn't make you one thing. This is the kind of thing companies are using now to figure, with all this talent, where do we put it, where do we place it?
Interesting, the system. Has this system been applied anywhere in this area, in Asia Pacific?
We have several. First of all, I mentioned, maybe I didn't, we have 2,500 customers around the world. Most of them are multinational, so they're in a lot of locations, including here. Secondly, we're in 23 different languages.
Oh, really?
And the very first language we were in was Bahasa Indonesia.
Really?
Yes.
Because a big multinational company did a lot of work over here, and they wanted to maintain the same standards here as they did other places.
How do you get hold of the Bahasa Indonesia?
Well, we'll tell you how the translation process, because it's very sophisticated. And Sally manages this. First thing we do is have two different translators in Bahasa translate the English to Bahasa. Then on a percentage of those translations, they won't agree. So we negotiate out until they both agree. Once they agree, we give that translation to two different individuals that are going to translate it back to English. And then we see how much they disagree and how much it matched the original, and we keep working through that. When we finally get it down to everybody agrees one system and it works both ways with it, Then we find a significant sample of bilingual individuals who are good in both Bahasa and English.
Sure.
We have half of them take the test in English first,
Yes.
and then a week later take it in Bahasa, and the other half just the other way around. Now we look at any place they answer differently in one language versus another, and we go back and fix that.
Yes.
Right.
It usually takes 2 or 3 months, but what it comes down to is this isn't just communication, this is really measuring your trade, so it's got to be very, very precise.
That's right.
And we've done 23 of these languages. The reason multinational companies like it is now you have one standard that's the same regardless of where you are in the world.
Fantastic.
So most of our companies, and of the top 50 of the Fortune Global 1000, probably 30 are our customers now. And we've done some pretty commercial, I mean, pretty difficult things to do. We talked about airlines. A few years ago, 2 very different culture airlines in Europe merged, KLM and Air France.
That's right. Yeah.
Neither side could agree, because it was going to mean a loss of jobs, how they were going to decide to do that. They ultimately did it by assessing everybody all over
With
the
our
world
assessment.
with this assessment, and both sides agreed that was more objective, more neutral, less biased than any other process. And to demonstrate it, this happened a few years ago, and as I'm sure you know, the likelihood of a work stoppage occurring in France is very high for very, very little reason, seemingly. This was about as big as you can get, and you never heard a thing. There was no strikes, no complaints.
Fantastic.
It went very smoothly. We have organizations like Siemens who are in very sophisticated products where communication is key. So they use the same process for managers and salespeople all over the world. So there are a variety of different applications for it. One of the things that's important to say, up until 10 years ago, we never had a salesperson of any kind.
Hi.
Everything came as a referral. So one manufacturer would talk to its supplier, and then a supplier would do it. And somebody that was a CEO of one company would be on the board of another company, and they would talk about it and so forth.
He's
Your time is coming. Okay.
Yeah.